So, in further thinking about this whole gentrification thing, um, basically, to get control of people, to get control of large populations, what's the easiest way to do that? I think the easiest way is probably to keep them all in densely populated areas, right? And so this gentrification effect, gentrification isn't new. Different demographics move in and out of cities. When they gain wealth, they usually move out, and vice versa. It just depends really which city you're talking about, which region. But to get control of people, it'd be easier to put them all in one place, right? And what do we see now is that people are running to cities, and people are really traveling a lot more and moving a lot more to different areas. New York City isn't the only city that is like overrun with hipsters, for example. That's like a nationwide thing. Hipster culture is a very widespread thing, and which is ironic because it's kind of the roots of hipsterism, I guess you could say, is to be different or alternative from other people, but hipsters end up looking the same, acting the same, talking the same, wherever they are. And I think that kind of plays into it. So you've got people from all over the country, from small towns and other cities moving into big metropolises like New York City, and also other medium-sized cities and large cities. For example, I'm thinking about moving to North Carolina, and where I would be moving is near Charlotte, right? So even Charlotte is getting congested, it's getting overpopulated. I can't say for certain, there might be a hipster culture there, I'm not sure, but it's definitely getting congested over there too, and it's probably happening all over the country, I would think. And it's kind of problematic because human beings have the most power when they have self-sustainability, control over their own land, their own food, their own way of life. That's why the off-the-grid movement is so big, because people want control over their lives again. And in big cities, you have no choice but to really be dependent on the government to, give you your water, electricity, etc. You got to pay a bunch of taxes to get your little plot of land. And that's another thing too, that's a whole other subject. When you buy a property, that this little squirrel is digging. Look at the squirrel. Squirrel. Yeah, so when you get a property, you don't really own it. You're kind of just still renting it from the government. You're paying a property tax to stay on property that you have already purchased. So the off-the-grid movement, the sovereign citizen movement, they rally against the idea of big government controlling their lives. And it makes me think of the movie Logan's Run, where not only Logan's Run, but also Divergence, Aeon Flux, which I saw not that long ago, again for the second time, where in these futuristic dystopias, humanity is only able to live within a small confined area, a small bubble. In some of these stories, it's just one big city, like Aeon Flux. I think Logan's Run as well was just one big city in a bubble. And basically, the running theme is that there's no safety beyond the walls. There's no safety on your own. That's what those dystopias, the governments in those dystopias push on the people to keep them from going beyond the walls. So you could say that this is sort of the beginning of that. And yeah, it's just a movie, but how many things have you seen in a sci-fi movie that became reality? The formula is sci-fi plus time equals reality. A lot of things that have been in movies we have now in real life. I mean, think about 3D printers, right? Where do we see that in sci-fi? In Star Trek? Well, they were like basically 3D printing food. And I believe there's some movements being made to do that, but you can 3D print now like basic objects, and that's how it starts. And as technology gets more advanced, you'll be able to build at a more microscopic level, or smaller level, until you get to the macroscopic. When nanomachines become more affordable and everything. When nanomachines become more prevalent and affordable to use and more practical to use, you'll probably see 3D printers using nanomachines to create really advanced things, basically out of thin air with just some raw material, and this thing will construct it for you. They even have, giant 3D printers that they can, print a whole house in a certain amount of hours. Definitely like in a day or less, print an entire house. Technology moves a lot faster than humanity has the ability to adjust to it, to adapt to using it. And so, with all this technology, humans are really losing their way in a lot of ways. And it helps to distract everybody and make it so that, the idea of moving into a city where you got your Amazon deliveries and your bars in every corner, restaurants in every corner, that seems preferable than to be able to take care of your own self, to grow your own food, to be able to defend yourself. And a lot of these big cities are Democrat run, which are anti-gun ownership. They're all about gun control. They say, these politicians, they say more and more out in the open that, we want to take your guns away. And while I'm sure some gun control advocates have, some good intentions, they want to prevent people from dying. Meanwhile, there's way more people dying of other things, like, for example, the flu. Thousands and thousands, way more than would die from gun deaths. It's a polarizing issue that basically is just used to distract people and divide people. So again, I really have this urge to get out, to go somewhere a lot more peaceful. More and more I just want to be in nature. Probably why I'm walking through Central Park right now, to get a little dose of nature. So my advice, if you live in a big city, get your dose of nature. and maybe consider getting out of that city, because there's a lot of land in the United States, and it's not good. It's not safe to have so many people congested in one area. I mean, New York City's always been heavily populated, but it's really congested now. I mean, I've seen the difference just from the 90s, you know, from my earliest memories. And New York has always been an impersonal place, but the inequality, the wealth divide is really steep. It's really big. And I am really concerned for a lot of people that aren't making enough money to survive, you know. And I would love to see a day where we don't need any government welfare or anything like that, or aid for people, that people would be able to take care of themselves. But the reality is that the chips are stacked against you if you're of like a certain background or demographic, and you've got an incredible advantage if you're on the other side of that spectrum. You know, you got people that really are not worth a damn dime, and they get put into positions of wealth and power because they inherit it, or you know, they look relatable. You know the whole thing about company culture now, that's basically just another form of discrimination. It's just a way of saying like, oh well, you're not like us, so you need to go somewhere else. You're not you're not wearing tight torn jeans and a flannel shirt. You're not one of us.